Welcome to the podcast of School Beyond Limitations. In this podcast, you will learn how to guide your child through their school life with the intention to help them find their unique essence that will allow your daughter, your son to live a fulfilled and meaningful life.
Hello, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another podcast of this show. Today we have once again Martina Geromin here with us and myself, Nayeef Khan. Today's a very vital topic that we're about to discuss. It's a student's role. In our previous episode, we talked about how a teacher should be like, their role in our lives and their participation. And today we'd like to talk about a student's role. So students, they generally expect in traditional schools for a teacher to get into a class and then give them the lesson and then direct them and dictate them towards a certain topic, expect that those topics to be memorized well enough to be written in exams, getting grades, and then passing and then moving forward. Is this really the role that we really want for our students to actually learn? I don't think so, because personally, when I was in school, I always hated the idea of memorizing and then putting it out on the paper just to test myself whether I've memorized well enough. I mean, that just makes no sense. If I want to really progress and learn and understand, what am I reading? Learning should be all about applying it, You can't just be sitting there getting the knowledge and not doing anything about it. It's of no use. And this is what SBL has indifferent to its culture. It really encourages and pushes a student to actually apply what they know and present it in a way that that knowledge is somehow showcased and utilized properly. We can talk about communication, as this is something that I have been doing for the longest time. I've been studying about it. I always try to reach out to people and communicate and be in the moment and engage myself with work, because I'm knowing how to communicate. Why not rather just use it? Whereas if I was in a traditional school, I would have just learned about communication and sat back home and constantly trying to find new theories about it. And this, to me, wouldn't have gotten me this way out of that box. I think one of the SBL manifesto is expect students to not limit within a box, isn't it, Martina?
Yes, exactly. Nayeef, thank you so much in the first place, because exactly we are not living in a box. And with regards to the role of the student, you rightly said something important. We view the student as a learner as much as we view ourselves as learners, and every human being to being a learner. So if we are learners who have actually a few elements already that they bring along, as we already mentioned a number of times, we do not see, any student and any facilitator and any human being as an empty vessel, because we are not empty vessels. We are already coming along with lots of experience. But the first and main aspect, I think, is this inner knowing, this understanding that there is already something within yourself, which we may call uniqueness, which we may call potential, which we may call genius, which we may call inner knowing, and this absolute knowledge that is already there. And this is something that we then bring together with the information out there. So it's not about filling a vessel, it's about connecting this tacit knowledge, this absolute knowledge, with this explicit knowledge out there to make sense and to apply it, as you rightly say, and to learn together. So as such, it's a completely shift, from how we view education. It's a shared process. It's a co-creation where students take a very active role. I can be calm, don't get me wrong. We are all bringing along different personalities, and there are introverted people as much as extroverted people. Then there are people who may be in between. So we acknowledge that. But it's about, being part of this process. As you said before, Nayeef, we work on projects and we communicate, we share what we have discovered or what we hold within, the idea, the creative idea, the imaginative idea, as Albert Einstein always said, imagination is more important than knowledge, knowledge in the sense of information. And we would have to distinguish between what is information and what is knowledge, but that's very philosophical. Anyways, what I would like to say is that the role of the learner is an important one because they do not perceive themselves within SBL and in life as such. If you feel like an empty vessel who needs to be directed, as you said before, Nayeef, you said direction, you need to do this and you need to do that and you need to fill in papers, and we are not saying that this is something that we completely discard at times. Sometimes we may want to learn something by heart because we love a poem or we love an anthem or we love whatever. But it is application, it is making sense, giving meaning to what I have, and that giving meaning, I communicate it to the outer world. And this is what we facilitate. So not only within the student, but within our own attitude towards life, because life is this, right? I need to engage with life. Life throws at us so many different experiences. We may call some experiences nice, other experiences less nice, but what we aim also to do is that there are a variety of experiences out there. And what we need to learn all together is look at those experiences and engage with those experiences in order for us to know that within ourselves, we know that there are possibilities to face any experience as an individual, but especially also as a community.
So what I'm getting from you is that we shouldn't breed one single perspective to anyone so that they don't get to see the world in their own ways or in other ways. And I think I don't agree to the point that, learning is about directions. I agree that it should be about guidance. That's what I genuinely believe, because direction and guidance is those completely different things. When we direct, we are only expected to do the very things that has been directed for us to do. Whereas guidance is about knowing and learning and showing the right way, and then choosing to do things in our own unique ways, or somehow finding the meaning of life and moving forward. And that true guidance comes from within, from the people that we are surrounded by. And I think you need a very safe space with the right people around you to guide you well enough. And this is what SBL is all about. It gathers people, and only the people who are truly motivated learners. I'm talking from a facilitator's perspective, also from a student's perspectives, and they all work together. And this unity has some sort of element of energy and synergy that just drives you. And this is what I have seen was some sort of a lacking in other institutions, not just in schools, but in workplaces, in playgrounds, anywhere. There's always this direction, and then there's this work. There's no unity and no moving forward together. And I think if that can be fixed, everything else can be fixed. The whole world needs unity, you know.
I completely agree, Naive. On the basis of unity, if we have a shared vision, and we are united in that, and each person then takes their own responsibility for their bit, as we already mentioned in another podcast, then this cell will just work perfectly well. And you mentioned, you talked about the difference between guidance and direction. And I don't want to disregard direction completely, because there are moments where direction may be needed, and also there are people who benefit from direction. We can't put all the people in the same space, and we don't want to connotate direction as something negative either. But if it's authoritarian, if it's coming from above and you do not have a say and you do not buy into the shared vision, the shared goal, we call it at SBL blueprint and manifesto, if we do not relate to that, how can we really move forward, right? And it's kind of, it will flatten or it will completely disappear after a while. Maybe initially it's interesting because I earn money, if I'm starting a job, but if this is not resonating with my own vision, values, and attitudes, then sooner or later it will flatten and it will not create this unity. And exactly, it's this unity when people feel part of the co-creation, and I can't undermine and underpin the notion that it is important, to have this kind of shared vision, because if we have a shared vision and goal, then then it's beautiful to work together. There are also challenges, and that's part of, as we said before, part of life, but then challenges are looked at. And then and what is the beauty about this, and you said it before as well, it's just unfolding. It's organically unfolding. And I see it also within School Beyond Limitations, and also now in our own conversation. The conversation is unfolding. Also, our actions are unfolding, because one step goes into the other, and it's like an organism that speaks with one another.
Absolutely. And I think what I'm getting is that you're referring to more as leadership here, in a sense that we need to lead ourselves. And also, I like the word you used, authoritarian. I mean, that notion is the killer of all. So direction, yes, I agree to a certain extent is necessary, but also it depends on what way it has been showcased. A true leader doesn't just show you the way and direct you there. A true leader walks with you together. And this is what SBL facilitators does. They show the way, and then they work with the students just to make them reach to the goal. And I also agree, shared goal and shared vision is what can hold and unite us. Of course, the shared vision can be reached in many different ways by individuals, but there should be one thing that everybody is working towards, and let it be making the world a little better.
And I think this is a beautiful ending to this podcast, basically, to create a better world. And we started from the role of the student, it's the role of the learner. And one of our roles is here, for sure, also to create a world. Let's not even solely talk about the better world. Of course, in certain circumstances, we want it to be better. But let's call it a world where we all find meaning in what we do, and where we all feel, kind of connected with ourselves and with other people, so that there is no need to say this person is more important over the other. And there is no power, battles, but there is just respect and appreciation for each and everyone.
Respect and love is all what we live for. So thank you very much, Martina. I think this was a great end to the podcast. And do keep an eye on our YouTube channel. We will be back next week again with another video. So thank you very much.
At School Beyond Limitations, we support our students find their unique essence. Feel free to share the content of this podcast with other parents. We are here to show that your children can, indeed, bring their unique essence into life. So, reach out to us if you think that this is what you'd like your daughter, your son to experience, or apply through our website. Also, leave your comments, your questions, or your review about the podcast. Share it with others. And, as you know, sharing is caring.